Pt.1 on BBC Radio Scotland.
And you're listening to Morning Call on BBC Radio Scotland with me, Cathy Macdonald. We're on 0500 92 95 00, text 80295 or email morningcallscotland@bbc.co.uk. A PPG Women in Parliament inquiry this year, 2014, launched a report on improving Parliament today. Now, this report aims to provide a new framework. The aim is to modernise Parliament and create a more aspirational, modern and representative government. The central notion of the inquiry is covering the increase of the representation of women in Parliament and how this will improve democracy. Will it improve democracy? Will it indeed improve society? Does it matter to you if your MP or MSP is a man or a woman? Are there some jobs that women are better at than men? Who makes a better manager for you? Is it a man or a woman? Or does it even matter? Should I even be asking the question? As a woman, do you feel underrepresented in society? And does your gender affect your job prospects? Lots of questions. I hope you've got the answers. 0500 92 95 00 or text 80295. I'm here to take your calls. Now, with me now is Mike Buchanan, who's party leader of Justice for Men and Boys. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning, Cathy.
Now, women account for slightly more than 50% of the population in our country, so we do have the edge there. Yet in the UK Parliament, 22% of our MPs are female. There are 35% in our Scottish Parliament. Some misrepresentation, methinks?
No, I don't think so. The idea that we should have more female MPs rests, I think, upon two false beliefs. The first one, that women are underrepresented in comparison with the proportion of well-qualified applicants seeking to become MPs who are women. Now, I know of no evidence to support this belief, and anecdotal evidence strongly suggests the complete opposite is the case. Caroline Spelman MP was the former Conservative Party chairwoman in 2008, and she recently admitted in a BBC interview that only 1 in 10 applicants in 2008 were women. Now, on that basis, women are already overrepresented as Conservative MPs, and with Labour's continued use of all-women shortlists, overrepresentation of female MPs in the Labour Party must be even higher, which takes us on to false belief number 2. Because most MPs are women, because most MPs are men, women are led to believe that somehow they must be getting a raw deal from the political classes, but nothing could be further from the truth. The political classes have relentlessly pandered to women for at least the last 30 years, and in our general election manifesto next year, we'll have proposals in about 20 areas where the state disadvantages men and boys, usually to advantage women and girls. There are no areas, none, in which the state disadvantages women and girls.
Why do you think so few women apply to be in politics then?
I think there's two key reasons, I think. The first, that far more men than women are interested in politics and therefore a political career. And of course we find that many female MPs are only interested in extending the privileging of women yet further, despite half their electors being male. But the key reason is that men and women tend to be different when it comes to their orientation to paid work. Now, Dr. Catherine Hakim, a renowned sociologist, published a paper in 2000 on what she termed preference theory. Her research showed that 4 in 7 British men are work-centred, but only 1 in 7 British women is. So this factor alone would lead us to expect 80% of MPs to be male, and that's exactly what that's where we are now in the UK Parliament. If you believe there's a need for more female MPs, by the same reasoning, you'd believe there's a need for more white sprinters in the Olympics 100 metres final, after observing that all the contestants are black. So perhaps we should give the best white sprinters a 10 or 20 metre lead, so we can later say they're as fast as Usain Bolt. And how is that different how would that be different to women expecting Parliament to bend over backwards to accommodate their needs, even more than it's already done for many, many years?
I think Trisha Marwick, who's the Presiding Officer of the Scottish Parliament, might take issue with some of what you've said, Mike. Stay with us. Good morning to you, Trisha.
Good morning, Cathy.
In your role, you have to command respect from just short of 130 MSPs. Was that more of a challenge as a woman?
I don't think it's a challenge at all as a woman. I think, I think men, listen to women when they're getting a telling off. I think it's something to do with their mothers. But I do think that you need to command respect across the chamber, and I think I have respect both from the men and the women within the Parliament.
And did you ever face barriers getting into politics as a woman? Mike was saying that that women are equally represented. It's just that they're not really interested in entering politics.
No, I didn't find any barriers at all. You've got to remember that when I joined the SNP, there was no Scottish Parliament. There was no career path in politics. I joined, like many people at that time, when there was no Scottish Parliament. It was, a time when the SNP were something like 8% in the opinion polls. So a career in politics was not something that was open to me. And when the Scottish Parliament became a real entity, then it was perfectly appropriate and sounded quite right that I put myself forward because I had been active in politics for a long time.
Can a man not represent a woman, though? Or is the accusation that women in politics only cover or represent women issues?
Well, I think that's really quite insulting to women. I look around at the excellent women that we've got in the Scottish Parliament. We have, for example, the leader of the Labour Party is a woman, the leader of the Conservative Party is a woman, the Deputy First Minister is a woman, the Presiding Officer, i.e. me, I'm a woman, one of my deputies is a woman. So there are many really great role models within the Scottish Parliament. And, the idea that they cannot also represent men as their constituents or in any other way, is simply not borne out by the facts.
Thanks for that, Trisha. Mary's on the line from near Perth. Good morning to you, Mary.
Good morning, Cathy.
More women MPs?
Not specifically. I think it's a bit of a red herring issue. What we need in Parliament is people who the government should represent the people. So to discriminate positively for women is to discriminate currently against poor men. Your speaker mentioned that 1 in 7 women are career-orientated. How many very poor men are career-orientated? I'm in the position of being a small business person. I am extremely busy. I work a lot of hours to keep my small business going, and it works. And I focus on my business. I am also interested in politics, but have less time. But the point of this, I'm saying this is a red herring because Parliament is not democratic. Every vote should count. It's out of touch with the people, so people do not engage with it. And when I say people, I mean men and women who are busy just making sure they can pay their mortgage, buy food, get the kids bath before they go to bed at night. We need a parliamentary system that is a much shorter point from the person who wishes to elect a government to the government. So 129 MSPs at Holyrood suits me fine because it's a shorter point and it might not be the best form of proportional representation, but at least I know when I vote it counts. And that encourages women because if there is any discrimination at all, and I'm not even sure I'm saying the right thing, but one thing women don't do is waste their time. What's the point of voting if your vote doesn't count?
Thank you for that, Mary. We're not going to waste any time whatsoever. I hope you can stay with us. I can tell you're a busy woman because we'll be taking more calls on this very matter. 0500 92 95 00. Text 80295. Email morningcallscotland@bbc.co.uk. Coming up after the 10 o'clock news.
92 to 95 FM, 810 medium wave, and on digital radio, BBC Radio Scotland.
The news with Pamela Havron. Good morning. Israel's military offensive against Gaza is going on for a 7th day, with airstrikes and artillery fire, despite growing international pressure for a ceasefire. Rocket attacks on Israel from Gaza have also continued, and Israel says it has shot down a drone operated by Hamas over the city of Ashdod. Our Middle East editor, Jeremy Bowen, says the 2 previous conflicts between Israel and Hamas militants both ended in ceasefires.
Unless Israel comes into Gaza, takes it over, which it's not going to do, by the way, and completely decides to try and kill or eliminate every Hamas member, this will end in a ceasefire. Now, it's the question of how they get there and how many people have to die before that happens, because in the past also, ceasefires have been a function of the amount of blood that has been spilt, because that has a relationship to the amount of international pressure, particularly Israel, gets put under to accept a ceasefire.